When Inspector Gore, VAT of the Intergalactic Health and Safety Directorate, landed on Earth, he wasn't sure what to expect. His assignments usually involved high-tech assessments on starships or pristine alien colonies, where civilizations prioritize cleanliness and caution to avoid the chaos of spaceborne diseases or industrial hazards. But Earth was an anomaly on every level. Gore Vat's eyes, protected by his visor against the star's bright light, scanned the vicinity as he made his way down the gangplank of his shuttle. A representative from Earth's safety board stood ready to greet him, waving a hand with a broad smile plastered on his face. "Welcome, Inspector," the man said warmly. "Name's Tony Delgado. I'll be guiding you through your inspection today." Gore Vat felt a flicker of unease. A Tony was not a reassuring name for someone responsible for planetary health regulations. Nonetheless, he extended his own hand, the left one, naturally, which was universally understood as the greeting limb among inspectors across the galaxy. Tony shook Gore Vat's hand, offering a handshake that was startlingly firm. The man's grip was so strong that Gore Vat's lower tendrils quivered. "Let's start with some of our local spots," Tony said, oblivious to the alien's discomfort. "Thought you'd like to see a good old greasy spoon to kick things off." "A greasy spoon?" Gore Vat asked, uncertain. "Oh yeah, they're a local treasure," Tony replied, his voice full of warmth and pride. He patted Gore Vat on the back with an energy that sent a jolt through his body. "We'll stop by Bert's Diner. Let's just say the health standards there are one of a kind." The diner smelled of cooking oil, grease, and an assortment of spices Gore Vat had no name for. He'd barely made it through the door when he noticed a fine mist of oil coating the walls and countertops. His visual scanner blinked warnings faster than his eyes could register. Mr. Delgado, are those crumbs?" Gore Vat's gaze landed on a nearby table where what appeared to be petrified bread remnants lay fossilized on the surface. "Yep," Tony replied, as if crumbs were no more unusual than freshly wiped surfaces. "Adds character." Character, Gore Vat thought. As an inspector, he had assessed countless environments but had never encountered a character rating on any official safety form. Before he could protest, Bert, the diner's owner, ambled over, wiping his hands on an apron that looked as if it had witnessed every meal for the last decade. "Howdy." Bert grinned, showing a row of teeth with the same patina as the stovetop behind him. "You new here?" Gore Vat's mouth opened, then closed, struggling to reconcile what he saw with the health guidelines in his brain. "I am here to assess your establishment's compliance with intergalactic standards." "Intergalactic, huh?" Bert laughed. "Well, we've had people from 3 counties come through here, so you're about as exotic as it gets." As Gore Vat looked around, he noticed the customers, oblivious to the inspection, devouring their food with zeal. A young man was dipping what appeared to be a battered stick of food into something neon orange. Tony leaned in, noticing Gore Vat's curious expression. "That's the atomic sauce. Bert makes it from homegrown peppers. It'll put hair on your chest." "Hair?" Gore Vat stammered, noting the sauce's alarmingly radioactive hue. "Relax," Tony chuckled, misinterpreting his concern. "That's just how we do things. You won't find safer folks than the regulars at Bert's." That's because they were all immune by exposure, Gore Vat thought, horrified. After all, prolonged exposure to pathogens could, theoretically, lead to resistance if the subject survived. That is, his safety scanner began to overheat, and Gore Vat deactivated it, lest it explode. He'd collect data the old-fashioned way, however unscientific it felt. He scribbled a few frantic notes before Tony ushered him toward the door. "You don't worry about the finer details here, Gore Vat," Tony assured him. "This is all part of the local culture." "Local culture," Gore Vat muttered, eyeing the layer of grease coating his coat. He struggled to file the term under relevant safety metrics. Their next stop was a construction site, where Gore Vat hoped to find a higher level of order and precision. The inspector surveyed the site, noticing several muscular humans wielding enormous power tools. One particularly burly man Tony introduced him as Carl was using a handheld torch that spat sparks across the construction area like fireworks. "Ah, a construction specialist," Gore Vat said, relieved. "Certainly the protocols here are rigorous." Carl, sweat glistening on his face, laughed so hard Gore Vat thought he might choke. "You bet. Alien guy. We got a saying here, safety third." "Third?" Gore Vat sputtered, the alien equivalent of a nervous breakdown flickering in his mind. "Oh yeah," Carl replied, looking proud. "Efficiency, speed, then safety. You gotta get the job done, right? Besides, we all look out for each other here." Just as Carl said this, a man shouted from above. A load of building materials swayed perilously from a crane, tilting at an alarming angle. Without a second thought, Carl and another worker leapt onto a scaffold, steadying the load with their own weight and arm strength. Vat watched in horror. Every safety protocol he knew about relied on controlled, automated systems, not sheer physical audacity. That was reckless. What if you'd been injured? Vat demanded. Carl shrugged. Wouldn't be the first time. Got 5 stitches last month. He lifted his shirt to reveal a gnarly scar that twisted across his abdomen like a badge of honor. Ain't life grand? Vat took a deep, shuddering breath. Humans, it seemed, found their grandness in defying probability, trusting their bones and muscles over logic and regulation. He noted this down, though he was sure his superiors would find it unbelievable. Tony led Vat to a new location, a bustling urban center where bicycles, scooters, and cars seemed to weave through the streets with near-reckless abandon. They entered a tiny store with a 24/7 sign flickering in the window, revealing aisles packed with everything from cleaning supplies to peculiar snack foods. Behind the counter, a grizzled man greeted them, looking entirely too comfortable with the chaos around him. "This is Mick," Tony said. "Mick runs the store around here, keeps things steady." Vat looked around, spotting spills on the floor and cables draped like vines in a jungle. Do people traverse this space without injury? Mick, overhearing, gave a toothy grin. "Only the strong survive, my friend. Life here's an obstacle course. You'll be fine." As if to illustrate his point, Mick slapped a sticker that read caution, wet floor next to a spill, but nobody seemed to heed it. A young man with a skateboard came skidding through the store, nimbly hopping over a low-lying cord, ignoring the warning sign as if it were a decoration. Tony," Vat said, wide-eyed, "I must record this as a zone of unpredictable hazard for the directorate's report." "Nah, it's just life, man," Mick cut in. "You know, we had an earthquake last month. Whole store rattled like a box of nuts, but it was just another day for us. What's life without a little shake-up, huh?" Vat could only stare. Mick's worldview defied every training module he'd ever completed. Earth, he was beginning to suspect, had cultivated not only a tolerance but an appetite for unpredictability. As they left the store, Tony could see Vat was shell-shocked. "Look," Tony said kindly, clapping him on the back. "I get it. Earth is a bit off the books, but we're resilient. We live through it, and we grow tougher." "I see," Vat murmured, typing on his datapad, trying to make sense of his bewildering experience. "But why risk so much? You don't follow the universal standards. Don't you fear accidents?" Tony shrugged, his smile easygoing. "Sure, we have accidents. But without a little risk, life gets boring. Besides, every time something knocks us down, we get right back up stronger. That's just how we do things on Earth." As Vat concluded his inspection, he realized he had more questions than answers. He spent the rest of the day compiling his report, summarizing his findings on Earth's unique safety standards. The humans seemed to flourish amid chaos, relying on community, resilience, and sheer audacity to navigate their world. His final report read, "Earth demonstrates a high tolerance for risks that, by conventional standards, would be deemed unacceptable. However, their collective approach to overcoming hazards appears to be deeply ingrained in their culture. It is my assessment that Earth's population exhibits resilience and adaptability that allows them to function effectively, even within zones of unpredictable hazard. Their motto, Safety Third, represents a mindset not found elsewhere in the galaxy and may serve as a study point for resilience under high-stress conditions." As Vat climbed back into his shuttle, he cast one last glance at Tony, Carl, Mick, and the world they called home. He shook his head, a slight smile playing across his otherwise stern face. "Safety Third," he muttered, chuckling as he initiated launch. After all, they seemed to be doing just fine.